Thank you, Clifford. I sort of had hoped that perhaps I wasn't going to be introduced, but that was so lovely. I'm very glad that I didn't sort of state anything. And thanks very much for the recording. So yes, it's just lovely to see so many very old friends, on you know, little pictures of you, some new friends, and some people that are unknown to me. But the fact that you're here makes you absolutely a friend for the morning, and I hope for a lot longer. So thanks very much for being here. Yes, I'm picking up the theme of Kalyana, and I'm not going to define it for a little moment. I just want to say that the Sydney Buddhist Centre has decided that for the year 2022, which, my goodness, hasn't started particularly well, our theme for the whole year will be Kalyana. And it's been made clear to all of us that this can just be introduced in any way a study leader, a course leader, any sort of event, that Kalyana can be introduced in almost anything. I must take off this picture of the recording, that's better. And I sort of, you know, I was thinking about this. I've really enjoyed just the reflection and the study I've done to offer this talk. And I came up with the thought, all Buddhist doctrine and practice is Kalyana. And that gave me something to really reflect on. And I'll have to laugh at myself in a little moment. So the meaning of Kalyana, I looked up the Pali English dictionary, and there were no fewer than 44 entries, and each one sort of said where in the Pali Canon you'd find it, and sort of what aspect, in what context it was put. And the one that I think is the clearest for all of us is Kalyana is the beautiful, charming, auspicious, morally good. And for most of us, if you have any familiarity with the word Kalyana, it will be in the context of Kalyana Mitrata, which of course is the beautiful, the morally good friendship. And sometimes that's just reduced to spiritual friendship, which has not always been the most easy way of thinking about Kalyana Mitrata. For me, the spiritual, but you know, there it is. But you know, you can use Kalyana for complexion, for bones, all sorts of things. And one of the bits that I really loved was that indeed one must do the Kalyana. It is fit, proper, appropriate. And of course, that's an ethical take, a morally good take on Kalyana. But I love that. But the one that made me this morning, it only came to me this morning, but of course, one of the most famous places where you'll find Kalyana, but of course for us it will have been in translation, is the Dharma is beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end. And the Dharma is the whole of Buddhist practice and doctrine. So there I was having this rather sort of arrogant thought, oh, aren't I clever? And, you know, there it's been all this time, it was there. So I want to start by reading a quote from the Buddha, because there has been certain Buddhist beliefs that beauty is something to be shunned, something to be very wary of. But the Buddha says this is from the Digha Nikaya. Now, Bhagava, certain recluses and Brahmins have accused me with groundless, empty lies that have no truth in them, saying, Gautama the recluse and his brethren have gone astray. For Gautama the recluse teaches this: when one reaches up to the release called the beautiful, and having reached it abides therein, at such a time he regards the whole universe as ugly. But I never said that, Bhagava. This is what I do say. Whenever one reaches up to the release called the beautiful, then they know indeed what beauty is. And the beauty of the release is a description of a particular very deep meditative state. But what the Buddha was saying was that transcendental beauty, or beauty at that level, is is then we will know truly what beauty is. And we have such beautiful natural world images and metaphor throughout the Pali Canon. There seems to be a very clear sense that the Buddha was very in touch with the beauty of the natural world around him. So I just want to look briefly at the Theravadan doctrine, and I don't know where it's clearly stated, but there's often been a very negative take on beauty, in a sense it should be shunned. And I just was thinking about that, and I realized that, of course, there is a danger of sensual gratification. One might want more, one might grasp after, cling after something that one finds beautiful. So instead of that would be an appropriate sort of an awareness rather than appreciative or an aesthetic awareness. So if one's grasping after the beautiful, there's a good deal of selfing going on. So in that sense, you know, it's something to be very careful of. But I just wanted to say that because the Theravadan sometimes gets a very poor reputation at times. So Sangharakshita himself certainly emphasized appreciative awareness, aesthetic awareness, and was very keen that we become involved in the arts, in poetry and good literature, etc., etc. So certainly from Sangharakshita, the founder of Triratna, there's no sense that the beauty is dangerous. I mean, of course, it can be dangerous, but we just have to be mindful. So I picked up on the aphorism, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So beauty is a quality, it's a value, it's not a material thing. And I was thinking about that fact and the fact that mindfulness is essential. One needs to have stopped, one needs to be a little bit withdrawn, even perhaps silent, to pick up on the truly beautiful. So that, you know, you can imagine if you're in a real rage about something, that there's suddenly a beautiful sunset. It's not likely that, well, I'll speak for myself, that I'll pick it up, that bone I'm chewing means that my awareness is, you know, very focused, narrowed down. So I think it's we have to be very careful just to have more silence, more space, more stopping in our lives. For me, it's that stopping being busy. Why do I fill my diary up with so many things to do? And there's also beauty in symbol and meaning. And I think of the beauty of the metaphor, the symbol of the lotus flower, which is so predominant throughout Buddhist iconography. And you can think of the flower as in itself beautiful. You can think of the rain that may fall on the leaves of a lotus flower, and they will just run off. There's no stickiness, there's no attachment, they run off. Most importantly, there's no lotus flower without a great deal of mud. And I think for all of us, you know, it's our unskillfulness. It's the things when we do sort of slip away from our ideals and our ethics, that, you know, that's the mud, and that's, you know, where we can really be transforming ourselves. So I love that symbol. But I have two with me, and I hope that they're clear to you. This is a beautiful pottery bowl. It's not very large. You can see I can put my hands around it like that. It's a beautiful pottery bowl, and it was given to me after my ordination when a friend knew I had taken the Buddha Shakyamuni as my visualization practice. And for me, you know, it's the symbol of the begging bowl. But of course, the begging bowl then becomes a symbol of humility. And for me, it becomes a symbol of stillness, simplicity, and contentment. You know, just to be simply present, just to be still, and then in that to find a depth of contentment. And my other symbol, and this is a very, perhaps much more unusual, it may not in itself take one as beautiful, but it is a palm leaf that has been woven into a fan, and then the stem has been covered over with another bit of palm leaf, and it's a different color. And I realize it's had my hand sweat and a bit of oil on it, so it's much smoother and firmer, but it is actually a very efficient fan. I've had it for at least 30 years. It was given to me in Samoa, and I was a Pacific historian in a past lifetime almost. And I was out in Western Samoa with a colleague of mine, a Samoan woman who had done my course in Pacific history at Macquarie University. And she was then the Minister of Education in the Samoan government. You know, this is, you know, their need for, you know, highly educated people. Anyway, it was a gift that was given to me. So for me, it has a lovely memory as well as a great deal of utility. You can see how it blows my hair around. So I think many of us will have symbols like that, and I hope when we get to the questions we can come back to that. So there's so many ways. As I said, you know, the Dharma is beautiful, beginning, middle, and end. And for me, ethics always, the 5, the 10 precepts have been, what concepts, ways of living that really, really are inspiring. And just to look at the positive formulations of the 5 precepts, they're talking about, you know, dwelling or acting in loving kindness, generosity, stillness, simplicity and contentment, truthfulness and mindfulness. 5 absolutely beautiful actions, thoughts, ways of being. And I only have one example of kindness, and many of you, I'm sure, will have heard this, and it goes back 15 years. I was on Coogee Bay Road and I was waiting for lights to change, and a taxi drew up across the road from me outside the Coles supermarket where I was headed. And there was a transaction, obviously, of the fare being paid. And then the taxi driver gets out of his car, goes around, opens the door for the woman who's in the back seat, picks up her walker and puts it on the footpath, and then helps her out and makes sure she negotiates the gutter safely, and that she's well, you know, she's stable and ready to walk on her with her walker. And I by this stage have got up the road, you know, up the same footpath. And I just said to this man, who looked to me to be of Middle Eastern descent, and I just said, that was such a kind act. And he looked at me as if to think, oh, that woman's a bit daft. And all he said was, we will all grow old. And I just, to me, the wisdom in that, but of course the compassion as well. So I think ethical action, and so I mean, we'll also find here ethical speech, but ethical action can just open the heart, particularly when you witness it somewhere else. And then there's the thing that I've already said, and that's sort of stopping or silence. And it leads to a deepening of awareness. And at this stage, I want to read you a lovely, to me, lovely, beautiful poem by Rumi called Quietness. Inside this new love, die. Your way begins on the other side. Become the sky. Take an axe to the prison wall. Escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born into colour. Do it now. You're covered with thick cloud. Slide out the side. Die and be quiet. Quietness is the secret sign that you have died. Your old life was a frantic running from silence. The speechless full moon comes out now. The full moon is a symbol for the bodhicitta. Can't go into that. So I think one thing that Rumi was saying there, or I pick it up as he's saying to me, is stop taking so much for granted you know, seen that, done that, know what that is. Just look, just reflect, just stop. And for me, become more receptive, more open, more, I mean, there's such a danger for me, and I know or I understand. I can go burbling on and not take what's absolutely in front of me to heart and mind and really be with it quietly. So I want to conclude, and I think I've done quite well for time. So here we have Kalyana, the beautiful, the morally good. And it's to be found everywhere. I mean, I've just skimmed over the surface. It can be found in the natural world, in painting, in music, in architecture. My father always said it could be found in mathematics. That one hasn't come to me personally, but I have almost a tinkling of that. I mean, there's certain physical things that I find quite beautiful in physics. And I don't know that I really understand them, but what they're suggesting to me, I find quite beautiful. Certainly one finds it in friendship, in ritual and devotion, and of course in mindfulness and meditation. So there's much to explore, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how other people pick it up. And, you know, it can be in a talk about ethics or friendship or, you know, poetry or whatever. It's not that you have to do a survey. I mean, in fact, we don't need any more surveys. So there is much to explore. So I want to finish with the most beautiful poem, which is the Navajo mountain chant, which again, I imagine will be very familiar to many of you. In beauty, may I walk, all day long may I walk, through the returning seasons may I walk. Beautifully I possess again, beautifully birds, beautifully joyful birds, on the trail marked with pollen may I walk, with grasshoppers about my feet may I walk, with dew about my feet may I walk, with beauty may I walk, with beauty before me may I walk, with beauty behind me may I walk, with beauty above me may I walk, with beauty all around me may I walk. In old age, wandering on a trail of beauty, lively may I walk. In old age, wandering on a trail of beauty, living again may I walk. It is finished in beauty. It is finished in beauty. And for me, to walk in beauty means to walk with an awareness that is open and appreciative of the world around me and all its beings. So I'd like to leave it at there, but I do have a couple of questions, which I'm sorry I didn't send out to the team. I meant to, but that's my old memory or lack of it there. So there are two very simple questions. What do you find beautiful? And how could you deepen or broaden your sense of beauty? Thanks very much, Clifford, for the recording.
Thanks, Nagasuri.